Okay, so today a couple of things that have come up um, regarding some things, some readings that I've done, some notes that I took, and I'll address some of these topics. And the note reads, "You have been operating in a limited field by collective agreement." This is true. So again, I would remark some of the other videos that I've put out pertaining to the collective consciousness, okay? That is what this is referring to when it says collective agreement. Now, these notes I took from the Book of Freedom, which was penned by Paul Selig, which is a channeled text. And just to speak of that some more is we come into these human earthly experiences as an individual aspect, in a sense, of the divine pure love that is source, which we all are birthed from, okay? But and we do have free will. But this earthly experience is one of a collective consciousness of forgetting. A collective consciousness of forgetting. Each and every one of us that have come in have agreed to, in a sense, forgetting who we are in truth, where we've come from in truth, where we're going in truth, all of these things, okay? In another way of saying it, we agreed to take on a subjective perspective of reality. Okay. A collective, subjective perspective of reality. That is what this is talking about. We have been operating in a limited field by collective agreement. Over the course of this earth, many things have happened. I'm not going to get involved in that in this discussion. But when we're speaking of energy, all things being energy, there have been energetic shifts that have occurred on this planet periodically. So, oftentimes I will cite my disapproval of certain things that have been recorded and given to the masses in the book that is known as the Bible. And I do that because we are no longer residing in an energy where all of those things are truly beneficial to us. Some of those things are still very beneficial to us if you're able to raise it to the level of consciousness we are currently in, okay? So what I mean by that is at the time that, Jesus walked the earth, the consciousness level was much, I don't mean to say lower, but I do, much less enlightened than we are today, in many, many ways. And we know that because he was crucified, okay? I don't need to tell you anything more than that. Understand that when he walked the earth, he was this beautiful beacon of light, source and emanation of divine love at its best. And the consciousness level was such on the planet that he was crucified. Okay? So where we are today, we are no longer in that level of lower vibrational energetic frequency of consciousness residing, okay? So today, many of us are working to raise the consciousness level further because we are no longer aligning to those old concepts, old beliefs, old ways of thinking, feeling, doing, okay? So we are really embracing our brothers and sisters on this planet as brothers and sisters on this planet. That is where we're going. So the next note says, once you no longer need fear to be your teacher, you can move beyond it. Okay, and that reaffirms the previous statement. that lower frequency, lower level vibration of consciousness, where consciousness was residing, was one where fear was very resourceful and very useful in allowing us to learn lessons, all right? So there was a time when fear was a useful tool in learning and growing on a spiritual level, on a consciousness level. And for some, they may still be there, okay? For some individuals, for some of our brothers and sisters, they may still be in that lower energy, lower vibrational field where fear can still be a good teacher, a useful tool for them. Many of us, we're not there anymore. We don't need fear to teach us. We can learn in many other ways. I'm gonna give you an example of that right now, okay? My grandmother, the last many years of her life, she lived 93 years, that, as we understand it, on this earth, and in the form that I knew her as my grandmother. She got dementia, or, whatever you want to call that. And it wasn't severe when I had seen her. I had heard stories about it being severe at other times, okay? I suppose late at night, that kind of thing. When I had visited her or spent time with her, I made a point to go when it was a time of the day when she would have been pretty coherent. So what I can say is at those times I would listen to her speak, and I would be in her company, and I would listen to her without judgment, without even objectivity. I was just present. I was just present with her. And what I can tell you is I learned so much from the experience she was having, even though she was unaware of it, maybe. I learned so much by observing her experience that I didn't need fear to teach me, because I was able to learn many, many things by observing her, okay? So we are in an amazing position today, 2 years into this scare-demic, fear-demic, where you see that's still playing out on this planet. There are still people who need fear to be a tool. I don't, okay? So once we no longer need fear to help teach us things, we can move beyond it. And we can learn through observation and being centered in self, having a true awareness of who we are. We can learn without needing fear to trigger, the 3D material ego that drives the car at that level. And so the next point, it says choices made outside of true self-alignment or knowing are done out of fear, out of habit, out of reason or reasoning, and that is of the mind, okay? And that means anticipated causality out of expectations. So that means the mind then analysis of, if I make this choice, this is what the outcome will be, okay? So it's not a feeling alignment. It's not aligning with a feeling of expansion, which is what that true knowing is when we make choices that align with a feeling from here, from the heart, that feels expansive, okay? So when you align with that, it is not of the mind. It is a greater sense than the five senses. The mind is part of the five senses as I can understand it. Maybe a little bit of the six, but it really helps to communicate information into this level. It might be six. It might be sixth sense partly. I think maybe the mind has a foothold in the five senses or higher, and it depends on who's driving the car. If the ego is driving the car, the mind is going to be more in the five senses. And if the higher self or true self is driving the car, meaning your vessel, then the mind is going to be able to function in that sixth sense or higher. Okay. So then it says, or if you're making a choice that is made outside of true self-alignment or knowing, and it is not done out of the ones I've already listed, the next option for that choice would be out of expectations of others, okay? So, meaning I am supposed to, because I want to see myself this way, I am supposed to do X, Y, or Z, because I'm trying to fit into the box that either I have created for myself or someone has created for me. Now, there are two different understandings of that reality. All right. So, from the level of spirit, the experiences that we are having here, being the divine expression of God in this moment, is all about us choosing who we want to be. But the choice of who we want to be is not the choice of the material temporal plane. It is the choice of what personality do I want to solidify as my true self that will follow and go with me beyond this lifetime, okay? So there's a difference. There is the box I'm trying to fit myself into, who I am expected to be on this earth, on this material plane, in this temporal experience. And then there is the higher level choice of who do I want to be in totality and in trueness and in realism, okay? So there are a couple little differences there. And when we're speaking of this, when we are speaking of choices made outside of the true self-alignment or knowing, if it's made outside of that, then it has everything to do with the temporary, material experience, and not the true self choosing who the true self wants to be on a permanent basis, okay? So it says here also, each encounter is your teacher. And I know even the Cryon group says you're in lesson here, you're in lesson here. And I need to expand on what this means. I need to bring this up to a new level of understanding from a place of spiritual consciousness. We are in lesson here. And again, this we can refer right back to what I said about the choice being that you have a choice in a temporal sense of who you're going to be on this material plane. Then you have the higher level choice of who you are as truth, in truth, okay? Beyond this. So when we say we're in lesson in a sense refers to the human experiences, okay? Every human experience, we get to be the expression of the divine in that moment. We get to feel how that feels, if it feels good for us or if it doesn't. If we make a choice, have an encounter, have an experience, participate in an experience, and it doesn't feel good, and it tightens the chest, constricts the energies, we are able to see or learn, we are able to know that way of participating in that experience or that way of approaching that experience was not in alignment with who we truly are, as that aspect of God. And as I have said in other videos, each one of us is a point of attention of God, okay? I am a point of attention of God expressing in this moment. And all of my brothers and sisters on this planet, right, are an expression of God, are a point of attention of God. So the higher level goal in the experiencing of earthly material form is to know ourselves as the truest, as the realist expression of the divine aspect or point of attention of God that we are. And so, and because there's no right or wrong in that, we have to feel our way. And why that is so is because in this world where we are now having this experience, others have written the textbooks telling us how we are to be, who we are to be, choices that are the right ones to make. They tell us what it looks like to be smart, what it looks like to be intelligent. They tell us what it looks like to be righteous, what it looks like to be a good mother, what it looks like to be a good father, okay? When we get to the level of Christ consciousness, we see that every point of attention of God, every brother or sister of ours on this planet and elsewhere, are going through what they need to go through as we are. We're going through what is necessary for us to determine who we are as that point of attention of God, because they're all different. They're all crazy, unique, and specific, okay? Each and every one infinitely special. Each one infinitely special, because no two are identical. We are very alike in that we all come and are birthed from love, yes. But we take on many different energetic vibrations within that. So imagine that again, we have a ball of absolute infinite potential, and that being one of energy. And because there's an infinite options, all of them perfect. And so, there are those who will say, but people can do bad things. Okay, well, when you get to the level of Christ consciousness, you will see that bad is a label. People do things. Yes, people do things. Bad is a label. And anytime, and Christ taught this, though it was not, I don't think, completely understood. Judge not, lest ye be not judged. And this also means watch the labels that you are applying to anything. Who determines what is bad? Who determines what is good? If a mind is being manipulated into believing that such and such and such activity is a good thing, but they're unaware of maybe some of the other things lurking around that are in the shadows, see, we have to be very careful of the labels. We have to be very careful. So when Christ taught, judge not lest ye be not judged, It was also the higher level understanding of that is watch your labels, watch what you define as good, bad, sin, righteousness. Okay? Be very careful, because you're kind of painting yourself into a corner. All right? So, in a sense, that all experiences we have are lessons. Lessons, but lessons not in a negative sense. All experiences teach us how we express truly as the point of attention of God, how we express in alignment with what we really are in every moment. And we learn that by feeling what doesn't feel right, what we are not, and making that slight correction, or not even a correction, because that denotes that there was an error. But we shift our approach, or the way we deal with it the next time, to better align with our true selves. Okay? So, and I'm going to say this. For those who worry about, and I said it in one of my videos recently, for those who worry about when I make statements like, be your true self, be your authentic self in every moment, and by that you bless the world, okay? Because your true self and my true self is love, will always be an expression of love. If you are living authentically as your true self, it is always an expression of love, okay? When and by that absolutely does no harm to anyone else, even if they don't see it that way, okay? So, a really easy example of that is somebody asks me to do something and it doesn't feel good to me to say yes to that, and I say no, okay? It doesn't feel like it's right for me. I don't feel in alignment with it. And someone else will criticize, possibly, or find fault with me, possibly, because I have said no to doing the thing, helping with the thing, whatever it is, okay? It is not an unloving act that I make a choice to say no. It is not. One might question if it's a loving act or not for someone else to sit in judgment over my choice, and that someone else might dare to interpret a character or to assign me a label based on a choice that I made. It's blasphemous. Blasphemous comes to mind, okay? Because that is one Christ telling another Christ how to be. That is one Christ saying another Christ is wrong, okay? Because we are all the body of Christ. We are all Christ. The power of God is active in each and every one of us, which makes us a Christ, if you think of it in those terms. And so, we can love and not participate. We can love someone in their choices, not love their choices maybe, but we can love someone no matter what choices they're making. And we can still show them love by not participating, okay? Because they need to play out whatever they need to play that out. Just as I need to make choices for myself, they need to make choices for themselves, okay? Now, I'm not going to get into the whole how far down the rabbit hole do you go with that. Of course, it's not completely a hands-off approach, because no one has the authority to invade your vessel or the vessel of anyone else, okay? Because each of us being a Christ, No one has the right to try and overpower or oppress another Christ, period. All right? It's, and that's where we're going. That's where we're going from the old energies that, worship death. I know, I heard that. The old energies that found a way to validate the crucifixion of the man, Jesus. The old ways that were able to say, look at how this benefits you, but don't pay attention to these other things, right? And I see that playing out in the world today. We're going to, how people are focusing the attention of I want to say the masses, but I think there are fewer now. I think more of us are seeing clearly. But how some people's attention is being focused through certain manipulations, through certain kinds of mind influencing processes. And this is also done through the system of labeling. So again, we've got labels like good or bad, and we've got labels that say conspiracy theory. And the absolute truth about the label conspiracy theory is that label was created to make individuals feel less than, to make individuals feel like they were stupid if they gave attention to the things that benefited certain people, for those things to stay hidden and not looked at. And that is really what is happening. That's really what's going on with certain labels. And so we must be very careful. And again, in Jesus and Christ's message of judge not lest ye be not judged, the greater picture is look at these labels. Look at these labels that you're assigning to all of these different things, and to yourselves. Who said you have to eat vanilla ice cream if you don't like vanilla ice cream? But all your friends are eating vanilla ice cream, so you don't want to be the one not eating the vanilla ice cream. It's one of those deals. And yes, that's oversimplified. It absolutely is. But it is the point. And that same point can be seen in different ways according to different situations. And so I just wanted to put that out there. It's getting a little long. I'm trying to keep these a little bit shorter these days. So just some things that came up in my reading. And I hope that this resonates. And if it doesn't, if you don't align with this message, then let it go. Just let it go. And that's okay. All right. In peace and love, may you be blessed.